So after I showed you this video of Lindsey Graham going to meet with Zelensky, and I showed this yesterday, something pretty amazing happened. So the chief spokespeople through Russian state media were essentially calling for assassination attempt, and I'm not making that up. I'll show you what they're saying, and it's absolutely abhorrent and hard to understand how they could say some of the things that they said. So I'm going to show you the video. This is from Russian Media Monitor, and I'll pause periodically where I need to interact and interject something. Okay, I'm going to also read the subtitle as well. In their stupid hatred towards Russia, American hawks are capable of anything. Now, Lindsey Graham is a hawk. I mean, he's known as to be very much on the hawkish side, even not just within the Senate, but even within conservatives, he's very much a hawk. Here's what one of the total dirtbags, you can call him any other way, Lindsey Graham said, "Free or die. Now you are free, and you will be, and the Russians are dying. It's the best money we ever spent. Thank you so much. We've already agreed on that. It makes life possible." Okay, so that was the interaction, and you can go back to this video here, and you can see Lindsey Graham and Zelensky interacting if you missed that yesterday. Okay, so Russians will die, Lindsey Graham says. You know what? You will croak, but the Russian people will live forever. You will croak. Dmitry Medvedev replied very harshly. I can only imagine the hysteria that will start tomorrow in all of the Western mainstream media. Senator Lindsey Graham, an old fool, said that the United States has never spent money as successfully as on the murder of Russians. So a couple of things there. First, he didn't say on the murder of Russians. Murder is going out and killing someone. In a time of war, this is self-defense if you're being invaded. So there's a big difference between murder. But it is true that he said that we never spent money so successfully. And let's talk to the actual point. The amount of money that the United States has spent is a lot of money, but compared to the effect that it's having of degrading Russia's forces to keep them from being able to do something like this to another neighbor is actually, as Lindsey Graham pointed out, quite a bargain if you think about it in those terms. Moreover, the Ukrainians want to fight, and if they're willing to fight, we're willing to supply them. Okay, let's keep going. He shouldn't have done that. In his beloved America, no, not only ordinary people are regularly killed, but dirty money is also being spent on killing senators. Huh? He should recall the sad fate of Robert Kennedy, Huey Long, Clementa Carlos Pinckney. Okay, wait a minute. So we know who Robert Kennedy was. Robert Kennedy and his brother JFK, John F. Kennedy, were assassinated, and pretty much every American knows that. So who is Huey Long? Huey Long, the Kingfish, was an American politician who served as the 40th governor of Louisiana and as United States Senator until his assassination in 1935. He was a left-wing populist member of the Democrat Party. This wasn't a political assassination. On September 8th, Long traveled to the state capitol to pass a bill that would gerrymander the district of an opponent, Judge Benjamin Pavey, who had held his position for 28 years, at 9:20 in the morning, just after passage of the bill, effectively removing Pavey. Pavey's son-in-law, Carl Weiss, approached Long, according to the generally accepted version of events, fired a single shot with a handgun from 4 feet away. So it's hardly a political assassination. But let's keep going. So he talked about Huey Long, Clementa Pinckney. Clementa Pinckney, if you remember, was part of one of the people killed in the Charleston shooting back in 2015. And he's the pastor of a church. He was attending a Bible study. That evening, he led a Bible study and a prayer session at Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church, where he was senior pastor. The shooter, Dylan Roof, was a racist who was shooting him for racial reasons. Had nothing to do with any kind of political assassination. By the way, he wasn't even a U.S. Senator. He's a member of the South Carolina Senate. So there's somebody over in RT that's doing the research that can't quite figure it out. Because while Huey Long and Robert F. Kennedy were U.S. senators, he's from South Carolina. Now, who's John Milton? John Milton's an American lawyer and politician from Kentucky. He represented Kentucky in the U.S. House of Representatives, and then he was a senator, but in the first Confederate Congress. Like, these are his examples. I'm not making this up. You can see it right here, that these are his examples. John Milton Elliot. He's in the Confederate government where he served the Senate as a senator from Kentucky. So he wasn't even a U.S. senator. Okay, who's the next guy? Wayne Owens. Now, this one was trickier. Wayne Owens was never a senator. Wayne Owens was a member of the U.S. House of Representatives, Utah's 2nd District. Now, he did run for Senate a number of times, again and again. So, but then he died. He suffered a fatal heart attack in Tel Aviv. That's how he died. And I can't find any other Wayne Owens. I looked up Wayne Owens Senate, and there's no search. He's just a congressman from Utah. But I guess they found this. Wayne Owens, ex-congressman, is found dead, and didn't go any further because he just suffered a heart attack. There was no political conspiracy. Yet, these are the examples that he's coming up with because, well, they're just kind of Googling and trying to figure out who are American politicians who have died. Well, okay, let's keep going. And other American politicians, that's right, your dirty American money, also fully supported the Nazi regime in Germany. Okay, whoa. You know, the Americans were on the side against the Nazis during World War II. In fact, the Americans were propping up the Soviet Union from certain defeat with Lend-Lease during World War II. And you were on the side of the Nazis before the Nazis turned against you. Remember the pact that you had made, that you were going to divide up Poland and you were going to just be at peace with Hitler until Hitler turned on you? Okay. Therefore, you are a Nazi beast. You're following in the footsteps of your predecessors. I'll repeat it once again. You will croak, but the Russian people will live forever. Wow. With respect to Lindsey Graham, I've directed our staff to look into it. There was an obvious splicing. He literally says Russians are dying. Not will die, but Russians are dying. This is the best money we've ever spent. Fair so far. There's a cut between these two phrases where it was spliced together and Zelensky was shown. Did he say it in another context? Or did he really say it this way? This should be looked into. If Lady Graham, it's Lindsey Graham, really said that the money for killing of Russians is the best money the U.S. ever spent, if he really said that, I hope that in our country, the sons or grandchildren of Pseudo-Platov are alive. Now, who is Pseudo-Platov? Pavel Pseudo-Platov was involved in several major Soviet intelligence operations, including the assassination of Leon Trotsky in 1940. So what she's really doing is calling for the assassination of a U.S. senator, or at least hinting at that. Like, that's pretty amazing here. The sons or grandchildren of Pseudo-Platov are alive. Pseudo-Platov's pupils, or the descendants of his pupils, it's not even hard. We have his address. Wow, that's pretty amazing that she would be willing to say something like that. We have his telephone number. What is the problem? I have no ill will toward anyone, and our religion tells us to forgive, but no one tells us to reward these types of things. When we stay quiet, when we don't act in response to these things, it is the same as encouraging them. It causes them to become increasingly more brazen. And so I hope our staff figures it out, then other people will act based on that. Well, that's really a veiled threat. I mean, that's what's going on here. And the lady that was just speaking is the editor of RT. And a gentleman that was speaking before that is Russian state media's most prolific mouthpiece to communicate what state media wants to put out. This is put out directly to the Russian audience. So this is the kind of thing that they're hearing. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that to your attention so you could see the other side. Why do I do that? Because if you see the other side, you can see it clearly and understand what you're hearing. And then when you're hearing someone like Scott Ritter or Douglas McGregor or other folks along those lines parroting that, you understand where that's coming from. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, for the coffees, for sharing this video. Thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.